All right, so welcome, and we will get started. So let's just have a block, and we will start lying down with the shoulders on the block, and you can do the Supta Baddha Konasana legs with the feet together, knees out to the side, or having those legs out straight, whatever you would like. All right. So taking your time. Every little bit of tension and resistance you can let go of before you actually settle on the block, all to the good. Maybe using the hands to give that neck a little lengthen out and over. Remember, when we're doing this on the block, we're actually asking our neck to do a back bend. So you want to feel that little lengthen, lift, and up and over in the neck. And then arriving somewhere, checking in with your breath, seeing how that's doing today. A couple extra big inhales, stretching out the ribs, stretching out the collarbones a little more. And letting go of the rest of the day, just being here now in this room, in your body with your breath. And then maybe breathing out through the fingertips to breathe those arms up overhead, lingering anywhere you like. And if you want to move a little more, breathing those arms up and down like giant wings, or they can come through the center line. Keeping that breath moving. And we will take a few more breaths here. So continue moving if you're enjoying that, or maybe coming to a point of stillness again. And then we will gently make our way up off the block. And coming to Sukhasana with the crossed legs. And using the arms alongside, giving a little lengthen up, getting space between the vertebrae, space in the hip sockets. And whatever little shifting and squinging you want to do. And then slowly releasing with the arms, letting the hands rest on the knees. Pouring down the sides of the neck off the tops of the shoulders. Inhale and exhale, balancing the effort and ease in the body. Long and spacious spine with a little strength. So you can pour down the sides of the neck, relaxing the shoulders, relaxing the face. And then reaching out wide through the collarbones, through the fingertips. Inhale and exhale, breathing those arms up overhead. Inhale and exhale, breathing them down. Let's breathe up through the right arm, side bend up and over to the left. And coming up through the left arm, side bend up and over to the right. Coming up, let's breathe both arms up. Inhale and exhale and breathing them down. We'll do that same thing. Let's do the left arm first, side bend to the right. And a big lift up, side bend up and over to the left. And back to the center. Let's do that again. Up the center, both arms. And then right arm over to the left. And back up to the center, left arm up and over to the right. Back up to the center. One more set, both arms. Inhale and exhale. And then left arm to the right. And coming up. And right arm to the left. And coming up. Once more, both arms, evening out those sides. And then we will change the cross of the legs. Coming forward, resolving that physical body into stillness, but still feeling all that movement going on energetically with the breath. And then coming up, unfurling that spine vertebrae by vertebrae back up on top of the sitting bones. Everything drops into place. Inhale and exhale. And let's slide the legs out to straight in Dandasana, reaching out through the heels, long through the top of the head. Be using the hands alongside behind you to keep that long and spacious spine and to really extend the legs. And then coming forward any amount, maybe still pushing from behind, or the hands can come out along the legs. Inhaling and exhaling, making space along the backs of the legs. Lengthening out through that lower back a little more. Feeling that hinge in the hip joints. Almost like you're pulling back right there at the crease of the hip joint into the sitting bones on a diagonal back and down. And then coming up. And let's come up and downward facing dog. So placing those hands carefully. Maybe taking a little puppy pose on a Uttanasana there, just to feel the arms and the shoulders and the shoulder blades. And then as you're ready, coming up to downward facing dog. Feet are hip distance apart or maybe wider. And then walking the dog or anything else you want to do up here. And then finishing with whatever you're doing, finding the best downward facing dog of this moment, nothing moving but the breath. Inhaling up to those sitting bones, exhale, pouring down the backs of the legs. And coming down, sitting back in child's pose. And then let's expand ourselves back up to downward facing dog. And we'll make those feet just a little bit wider than hip distance. So we'll have room to swivel our feet onto the edges of the feet. So let's swivel over to the left. So pivoting on the ball of the foot, letting the inner right heel and the outer left heel come to the floor, and then really extend the legs and lengthen back. Swivel dog. Maybe swivel dog is good, or lengthening forward into the swivel plank. And then we're all back in swivel dog and regular dog. So if you need to come down and give your wrists a break, do so. And then we will go to the other side, swiveling those heels over to the right. Outer right heel, inner left heel on the floor, getting all the way over there into swivel dog. And then maybe out to swivel plank. And back up to swivel dog. And back to the center. Deep breath. Coming down, sitting back in child's pose. Oh. And sliding forward onto our stomach into the Sphinx. Elbows out to the fingertips. And pulling back with the elbows, pulling back with the hands. Maybe noticing what a nice release in the wrist joint this can be here. And reaching back through the toes, a little bridge posing into the floor. Maybe there's a little more lift up, or if you want to adjust the hands so you could lift the elbows, you could do that. Taking a few more breaths here. And then calming down. Deep breath. And we will come back up to downward facing dog. And going through the vinyasa, any version. Oh, kneeling chaturanga is what I did for those who just want to do whatever I did and not have to make decisions. And downward facing dog. And let's lift our right leg up. Reaching long through the right heel, reaching down through the left heel. And then through to the lunge. Long line from the top of the head out that left heel, and let's twist to the right. And then sort of like that swivel dogging and swivel planking, we're going to the sling. So pivot on the right heel to turn the right toes out 90 degrees. We go onto the outer edge of that left foot all the way onto the heel. And then letting that left outer hip sink down as much as it can, reaching back with the right arm. And then a big lift up, a little side bend up into the right side, pulling yourself back to the lunge at the front of the mat, bringing the left knee down, coming up in Anjayasana, the kneeling lunge. Nice big round breath. And then we'll bring the arms down and around to Namaste, just a half circle around. And Namaste into the floor. Stepping back to the plank, Vinyasa, downward facing dog. And then we'll do that same thing with the left leg. Lifting the left leg up. Reaching down through the right heel. Breathing yourself a little wider here. And through to the lunge. A strong right leg extending back, and we will twist to the left. And then into the sling. So turning that right foot 90 degrees, going onto the outer edge of the left foot. And then letting that right outer hip go down, reaching back with the left arm. So it's possible you can even set that right hip there on the floor. A different way to do a side bend. And then pressing down and coming up, side bending into the left side. And turning back to the lunge at the front of the mat, bringing the right knee down and Jayasana. Settling into your breath, smoothing things out. And then a big half circle around to Namaste in front. And into the floor. Stepping back to the plank, through the vinyasa, downward facing dog. Taking 3 deep breaths here, being in this downward facing dog of this moment. And looking between the hands to jump or step forward. Into the concave, back halfway up. Folding over. Taking a couple breaths here. Extending up through the legs. Reaching down through the feet. And then coming up to standing, big front body long. Arms down and around and into Namaste in front. And then coming over, big lift up and diving over. Concave back, folding over. Let's step back with our left leg. So our right leg's in front, and then we'll turn to the base of the warrior two and take a moment here doing the roller derby, pressing that right outer knee back with your right hand on the knee or thigh there, kind of like a half elephant rider, except that we already have our warrior 2 feet there. And then we will come up to the warrior number 2. And even with our hands not there, but you can always put it back on that inner knee, feeling that press back. We'll press forward with the tailbone, flattening yourself out into a single plane. And then breathing the arms up overhead. We're still in the lunge. Big reach wide and down to interlock the fingers behind. Rolling the shoulders out. And to feel those arms going straight down. The tailbone down to the back of the hands, down to the floor. So now we're facing our body from the side of the mat, and let's come forward. See if you can stop or pause. We don't really want to stop too long, kind of halfway down, reach out and over a little more, and then continuing over. And we'll just release the hands here and straighten up that right leg, turning that foot to parallel into the wide leg forward bend. Prasarita Padottanasana. And let's turn back to the right lunge toward the front of the mat. And we will continue on our way, stepping back to the plank, through the vinyasa, any version, and downward facing dog. All right, let's lift our right leg up. Reaching down through the left. Breathe and extend and reach, make those legs wider. And then through to the lunge. And let's come up in the high lunge. And then we'll twist to the right, arms parallel to the floor. Floating the left hand down in the twist. And then let's do that sling again, pivoting the feet and letting that left outer hip sink down, reaching back with the right arm, reaching back through that inner left heel. And then side bending up into the right side. And back to the front, stepping forward. Into the concave back, halfway up. Folding over. Taking a few breaths here in the forward bend. And coming up to standing, big front body yawn. And arms down and around to Namaste in front. And then we'll do that around on the left side. Coming over, big lift up. And diving over. Concave back, folding over. And we'll step back with the right leg. And then into that roller derby, turning your right foot to 90 degrees at the back there. Left hand on the inside of the right knee or thigh. Stretching into that left leg there along the inner thigh. I actually feel a little stretch on the right inner thigh facing the floor there as well. And then let's come up to the warrior number 2. Keep feeling that pressing back, Tailbone has a little press forward, and there we are, held right between. And breathing. And then still here in the lunge, bringing both arms up overhead. And reaching wide to interlock the fingers behind. Give those shoulders a roll. Hands going down the center line. So we're facing the side of our mat, our body front now. So we're trying to make it very different than that humble warrior in the warrior one, where we head toward the inner thigh of our front leg. We're trying to go straight, flat, forward toward the side. All right, here we go. Coming over, reaching back through the hands, reaching to the top of the head. Reach a little more and continuing over. And release the hands. And then we'll straighten up the left leg, turning the foot to parallel. Prasarita Padottanasana. And turning back to our left lunge toward the front of the mat. Continuing back to downward facing dog. To the plank, chaturanga, up dog, or maybe just holding the plank through for your vinyasa. And we'll all be in downward facing dog. And let's lift our left leg up. Reaching down through the right heel. Pulling wide between both legs. Through to the lunge. And let's come up in the high lunge. And we'll twist to the left, arms parallel to the floor. And then floating that right hand down in the twist. And into that sling, pivoting the feet. Pressing that right outer hip down toward the floor. Kind of unusual way to make a side bend. Reaching back through the left arm, reaching back through that right inner thigh and right heel. And then pressing up into a side bend into the left. And turning back to the lunge, stepping forward into the concave back, halfway up, folding over. And coming up to standing, big front body yawn. Pressing the arms down and around to Namaste in front. And let's do a tree pose, Vrikshasana. So let's see, I'll stand this way and be the mirror. All right, so if you want to come somewhere where you can hold on for a little more steadiness, I'm just going to take my chances today. And let's bring that right leg up. And then bringing that right leg down. Deep breath. And we'll bring the left leg. And bringing that left leg down. All right, maybe like me, you need to take a deep breath and let all that go. Even if it was not so perfect as you hoped. And here we are at the front of the mat. And come, big lift up. And diving over. Concave back, folding over through the vinyasa, downward facing dog. And then let's come down onto our knees, sitting back onto the heels and simplified Virasana. Reaching back through the tops of the shins, through the toes, down through the thighs, maybe sitting on a block if you need to, or somewhere completely different. Or you can also be forward, taking some support from the hands. Breathing here. And then we're going to come up onto our knees. So maybe you're just going to ascend or using those hands to help. And arms come up overhead. And short Tadasana, long and flat. Ustrasana, the camel pose. Lifting up, arms come around and onto the sacrum. Fingertips going down. Going up and over. Do a little squeeze together with the elbows. And coming back up, long through the top of the head. So I'm going to turn and face you and be the mirror again. All right, so here we are. In theory, we're at the back of the mat and just Ustrasana. So let's do Parigasana, the gate pose, taking your right leg out and a little diagonal front. So you can see how my knee is still on my mat, but my heel's a little in front of it. So my leg's not directly side, unless you have very open hips, a little in front, so you can really roll that right outer hip down and under, leveling those two hip bones. And so the front leg's like a triangle pose. Standing right up on top of that left leg, arms out to the side. Let's breathe them up. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale down. And then left arm up and over to the right. And coming back up, retrieving that left leg, right leg, sorry. And then let's descend into simplified Virasana for a moment. Or maybe on all fours or supported from the hands if your knee joints don't want to fold like this. And then ascending once again. And continuing around into Uttanasana, the camel pose. So this can be more of a front body yawn. Maybe you're bringing more of a back bend. Maybe you can reach the heels at this point and you want to do that. And then coming up long through the top of the head. And let's take our left leg out to the side, slightly diagonal forward, rolling it out and under, but not by sinking down, standing right up on top of that right knee, reaching wide through the arms. Breathing the arms up, breathing them down, and then side bend, right arm up and over to the left. And coming up, retrieving that left leg. All right, one more Uttanasana. Lots of length, coming up, lots of strength, and then hands to the sacrum or maybe to the heels, but don't force anything. Inhale, making space, exhale, deepening. Inhale, stretching and lengthening. Exhale, a little more strength and lift from the center. And then we will finish with this coming up. Descending back to simplified Virasana. And then pouring forward and over into child's pose. Whatever little squinges you want to do there, maybe a micro cat and cow. And let's expand ourselves back up to downward facing dog. And throw a vinyasa or not. And then here we all are, downward facing dog. Let's lift our right leg up. And through to lunge, warrior number 2. Pulling wide and flat, pressing back, pressing forward from the sides of the mat. And bringing those arms up overhead and down to interlock the fingers, rolling the shoulders out. And then we're going to tilt into a Parsvakonasana, feeling those hands going right along the spine out the tailbone. So you might not tilt very far, just go where you can go with control. And then releasing those hands into Parsvakonasana, any version. And reaching down and around into the wide leg forward bend. And then turning back to the right lunge where we came from. Stepping back to the plank, vinyasa or not, downward facing dog. And then let's lift our left leg up. And through to the lunge, coming up in the warrior number 2. Pressing back, pressing forward, lengthening forward, lengthening back. And then breathing those arms up and down to interlock the fingers, rolling those shoulders out. And then into the side angle. Reaching on a diagonal back with the hands, and we connect that diagonal to our back leg, and there we are. And then release the hands into the side angle and eversion. And reaching down and around into the wide leg forward bend. And let's walk the feet into the center. So here we are in our horizontal center of the mat in Uttanasana, the forward bend. Coming up to standing, big front body. And around to Namaste in front. So let's tree pose again. And this time we're going to see if maybe we can add in Bringing the arms up overhead, interlocking the fingers behind with the tree pose. So I'm actually going to go over by the wall this time, given how I didn't quite work out last time. All right, so I'll be the mirror again. So it doesn't matter. We're going to do the right leg and the left leg. So let's bring our right leg up. Vrikshasana. And then bringing the arms up overhead. And then down and around, interlock the fingers behind. Really connect that line down from the hands, down from the tailbone. Squeezing the upper arms a little toward each other. And then setting that right foot down. Release the hands, and we will go to the other side. Bringing the left leg up. And then just taking a few breaths, getting centered here. And then breathing the arms up. And a big reach around to interlock the fingers behind. Really tracking those arms down through the hands, along the line of the spine, down through the tailbone into the and then bringing that left leg down. And here we are in the horizontal center of the mat. Big lift up. And diving over. Walking the feet back out to the wide leg forward bend. And then there's our left leg, and we're going to turn to the left lunge. And stepping back to downward facing dog, maybe one more through the vinyasa. And then we'll all be in downward facing dog for a few breaths. The best downward facing dog of this moment. Coming down, sitting back in child's pose. And then making our way down to the floor. Almost to Shavasana. Or you could be in Shavasana here if you want. We're not doing anything especially tricky. Here we are on the floor. Maybe legs a little bit together with a little reach, flattening the front of the hips. And we'll bend the right leg, giving that right thigh a pull in, really lengthening down the front of the left. And then right arm out to the side, left hand on that right knee, pulling it across with a twist. And back to the center. And we'll do the other leg, bending the left leg, hinging it in, really lengthening down the front of the right leg. And then left knee into the right hand, taking that left leg across to the right. Inhale and exhale, almost into Shavasana already. And then coming back to the center, sliding that left leg out, getting yourself centered for a short Shavasana. Though of course, you can stay as long as you want. Inhaling and exhaling, melting into the floor. Feeling every moment of every breath. And if you need to move on into the rest of the day now, moving the fingers and toes, circling the wrists and ankles, stretching the arms up overhead. And bending your knees to make your way up to sitting in any comfortable position with that long and spacious. Taking a few more moments, sitting quietly inside yourself. Namaste. Thank you for coming.